I'm actually was hired as a plant introduction specialist and ended up being probably the same thing I was for 35 years at Utah State, which is state horticulturist, because I do extension here for Perennial Favorites now, which is about the same job, which includes writing an article a week and the same things I was doing at Utah State. You think they had that in the back of their minds, I believe. But behind us are our connection to Utah State. We have Fire Chalice and Soul Dancer Daisy, which are Sago Supreme introductions that were introduced through the Utah State University Botanical Center and the program there. And we can see some of that product. This has become a natural segue to get some of those things into the trade as quickly as possible. So this is just a portion of what can be done potentially by the interaction of the nursery business and Utah State University.
Alrighty, so I'm Kenley Cox, Preston and Melissa's son. I've been working here basically my entire life since we started the place. We started it back in the, in the early 90s, and, it was kind of a family chore of mine that we always had to do, come out and work in the plants, work in the fields, weeding, spacing, whatever it was. And, as a kid, I always hated it. It was always the worst thing, it was such a chore. And I said, when I grow up, I'm never staying here. I'm moving away, I'm going to do something different, and you grow up and you go out in the real world and you do something different. And, went to school and got my education and realized that it wasn't too bad. So I decided to come back and, had a major role here for the last, 10 years doing sales and marketing and delivery scheduling, everything like that. So, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love it. Best industry, people in it are the greatest. People that I get to work with are just fantastic and amazing here. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. So we started back in the early 90s, like I said. We have 12 acres here. About 10 of those acres are in production right now, with from greenhouses to all the growing beds that we have out here. We run a real high efficiency model as far as planting and cells go. So we want to plant our space that we have to grow, and we want to use that space and turn it over as many times as we can. That's really been our philosophy, from the beginning, is to really make it as efficient as we possibly can, and to get as many inventory turns as we can to make our most money possible.
Hey, I'm Debbie Robbins. I work for Perennial Favorites Nursery. I started in this business by buying a home out here. I lived in a condo for about 15 years and decided to buy a home out here, and had no idea that there were differences between annuals and perennials. So I decided to join the Master Gardener program and met Bill Varga that way, and ended up going into USU and getting my associate's degree in ornamental horticulture. In the meantime, I had Preston and Melissa Cox come to my home, and Melissa had asked me if I would like to come and work at their greenhouses. They had only 3 greenhouses and 3 outside beds, and asked if I could come and just kind of keep the place watered and weeded and help grow the plants. And I thought, yeah, might as well. The kids were older enough now I could start working. So that's how I started, and that was about 20-something years ago. And so what my job is I process all the orders that come through, and I help all the landscapers that come through and help them find the plants that they're looking for, or substitutes. We started very small, and now it's really hard to keep up with it. I'm so glad everything is online on the computer, because there is no way I would be able to keep track of all the things that we grow.
We're inside the production zone here. This is the potting area where everything gets put in some kind of a container in preparation to be grown out into the size necessary for placement in a nursery. So some nurseries want things in smaller sizes. We put them in smaller sizes. We actually have a contract with High Country Gardens, which has a container that's a small size container, and all their product is the same size. So we'll use this machinery that we see behind us here to kind of put that in that kind of a unit size so that it's shippable. then other things are placed in sizes that our other clients would prefer, and they could be up to a gallon or even 2-gallon size. So it varies depending on who and what they want. We try and make sure that they have a plant that's of a size that they want, but also of the quality that they want, and that becomes most important. So this is one of the more important areas in the production phase. And over on the other side of us, we have some actually tags, and we get involved in that, and I'm actually doing some design on tags right now for some of our new plants that we need to do. So it all becomes part of the process. At one time, there was only one little shelf unit. Now there are obviously thousands of units here to be tagged. So planting the soil in medium in the pots, and then putting tags in, all happens in this building.
One of the things that started getting into a couple, 3 years ago is beneficial insects, which I was pretty skeptical about, but it was something that I wanted to try. I wanted to find out for myself whether it worked. And the more we've gotten into it and found out that it really does work, it's something that I've really gotten interested in, and trying new things all the time, and expanding our program as far as which crops we use beneficials on nowadays. And so that's kind of what I do.
So obviously we peak in the spring when flowers start blooming and they come up. We usually ship from beginning of the year, maybe March, all the way into fall, Halloween time. Just in our peak days, we can ship up to 70,000 plants a day, which is a lot of plants, and we got a lot of hands working on them. Just, yeah, the sheer volume, man, every week we'll go up to Boise at least 4 times, and just with that amount, just 2 box trucks and the semis, it's a lot. We can fit about, I would say, 2,000 plants on each semi. So with COVID, it's been nuts. A lot of people staying home, planting, going to garden centers. Yeah, the garden centers have been packed busy. So we've just been, hustling, trying to keep up with their demand, and yeah, I think we've been filling it pretty well. It's been kind of slowing down now in the summer. Everyone's kind of got their yards looking big and beautiful. But yeah, the industry has bloomed this spring because of everyone staying here.
All right, the section we're looking at in this area is the plant trial garden. And the trials are probably unlike the trials that are going on at the Botanical Center, which are very specific. Our trials are look-see trials. We're putting things in the ground. We want to see them as if they're going to perform as per what the researcher that introduced them said they would in our climate. So we have some concerns there. And we just want to see what time they bloom. We keep some records. We don't try and keep detailed records, but we keep quite a few records. And then our clientele likes to come back here and look through things, and they get an idea of, oh yeah, maybe that's something I want to try. So it's a trialing and a promotional area, and hopefully it does some good for the operation to have it. It also landscapes something that is really pretty sterile. The greenhouses, this time of the year, there's not much going on. This kind of takes up the slack in that area, and the whole community enjoys it. We have people coming through from the community, not just clientele, and then we have school groups come through. So they want to see what plants and get a little tour. So it's an addition to the overall promotion of perennial favorites here in Layton.
2020 this year has been insane. You know, at the first of the year, didn't know what it was going to do, and then it's been nuts ever since then. And it's just been busy all the time. You know, we planted a lot more vegetables and herbs to try and counteract, because we could kind of see the trend that was going on early. You know, we more than tripled our edible sales that we did this year compared to last year. And then on top of that, just perennials in general have just gone crazy. You know, we're far ahead of what we would have ever have done last year and what we would have done this year had it been a normal year. But it was also great weather for the most part this year, and coupled with everybody being home, it's been insane. It's been really great. We've been working really hard, long, crazy hours, but we got through it and came out the other side. So it's been a good year.